Hello and welcome back to Telenovelas with Aranza. Today I will be filling in for the one and only Dulce Valencia. We will be having more fun, and she is not here because she has a black eye. As you guys know or may not know, Dulce has been on a journey of learning how to fight, very much like Un Gancho al Corazón, where we have another starring related actor, Sebastian Rulli. And just like in that novela, there is a lot more fighting that goes on with Teresa in these episodes that we are going to talk about. So without further ado, let's get started without Dulce, because who needs her?
Hey, did I miss anything? My name is Dulce Valencia, and welcome to Telenovelas con Dulce, a podcast where every week I invite special guests to break down the telenovelas we love, from the music to the cast to the unforgettable plot twist.
Every slap, every imbécil, every secret twin.
I have got you covered.
Bienvenidos and welcome everyone to Telenovelas con Dulce. I am Dulce Valencia and I am your host, Aranza. Trying to come after my job.
Yeah.
Wow, you think you can do this better than me?
No, but I'll fake it till I make it.
Welcome back to Telenovelas con Dulce, the podcast where I invite my friends to talk about telenovelas with me. In this episode, we are going to be continuing to cover the telenovela Teresa, and we are going to be covering episodes 116 to 134. Aranza, thank you so much for joining us today.
Are you sure about that?
No.
You should be scared.
I'm
coming
low-key,
after your job.
It was a full moon. There was a lot of
Sag.
What does that mean? Did you?
I don't know what it means specifically with Sag, but I had read a tweet prior to the full moon about like manifesting. I mean, and that's just with every full moon, right? You're supposed to like clean your house, clean your room before a full moon so you can have like a good beginning with the new moon and set your intentions, manifest what you want. Dulce is like, ooh.
Every full moon, every single time, I neglect to clean. That is my problem. And I promise you, listener, next full moon, I will have cleaned my apartment.
Will I be here to hold you accountable?
Yeah, because we're going to be doing the other telenovela we're going to do. Oh, real quick, updates. So, y'all, I'm about to pull an all-nighter because we're recording this on Wednesday night and this episode is going to go live tomorrow morning. So, be gentle with me, and if you appreciate the hard work I put into this, go leave us a review and tell us how amazing we are.
She's going to drop her Venmo and catch up.
Actually, yes. Okay, announcements. I do have announcements. All right, if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel where I make more telenovela content. And also, I have a sticker store now, so I'm going to be linking it up in the show notes so you can go check out telenovela-inspired stickers. I'm super excited about them, and thank you for everyone who has already placed an order. I appreciate you all so much, and it still blows my mind that I have you all listening in different parts of the country, and the world. And speaking of the world, our dear Hong Kong listener made an excellent comment last week and asked if we were going to be giving updates on Aurora's character. And so this is my own accountability.
I'm going to stop her right there because I always want to talk about the side characters, but it also is my fault because when we're recording, I kind of get so tangled up with the conversations we're having about the main characters that I forget about the sideline characters until the very end. And then that's when I tell Dulce, like, hey, I want to talk about this, but by then it's like too late.
So shout out to our Hong Kong listener because Aurora is her favorite character. So she really wants, as she should. So this is a personal call out post to myself because I have been neglecting side characters and their stories have picked up. So if there's a storyline that we haven't covered that you want us to cover a little bit more, make sure to let us know. You can contact us through Instagram, email, all of that stuff where you can contact me is linked in the show notes. So if you want to hear about something, a specific character, let me know. And without further ado, let's start. When we last left off, Teresa had proven that she loves Arturo by taking a bullet for him, 2 bullets for him. And he, oh my God, I'm really out today.
You got a bloody nose.
Oh my God, y'all, I got a bloody nose today. So I've been boxing. I feel like every episode I mentioned that I'm boxing. I've been boxing, and today I got a bloody nose. And it was kind of my fault. So we were sparring and we were doing a combination. I felt it, and I've been having a sensitive nose throughout the past 2 days. So I went into my lesson being like, I'm going to get a bloody nose today.
Wow, look, you manifested that for the full moon.
I did. I should have manifested money or something.
But no.
I manifested a bloody nose. And then we did a combination, and I felt it. And I was like, I have a bloody nose. But you couldn't see anything. And so he's like, let's do one more round. And I was like, yeah, let me see if I can pull through another round. Not even a minute into the next round, the blood just came gushing down. And I have a picture. If y'all want to see it, let me know. I can post it. But it's not telenovela content at all, so.
Maybe if you talk about Gancho el Corazón.
Yes, and I did make a TikTok video about it.
There you go.
So yeah, back to Teresa. So when we last left off, Arturo had lost all his money, but Teresa was standing by him. She was gonna stick with him, and they were gonna recover the fortune somehow.
Do we believe her? Was she staying just because she wanted to stick it up to the people who said that she was always after his money? Or was she genuinely falling in love with him and was gonna stay with him no matter what?
Okay, that's the part where I go back and forth on, because she says she loves him, but she's still always going after Mariano. Exactly. And at this point, I don't even think she loves Mariano.
And not even, it's money. That she's after. Mm-hmm. So she can be in love with anyone, but like she says, she's always striving for more. And just as so many characters have told her, from her mom to her madrina to her friend Aurora to Oriana, everyone tells Teresa, ambition is going to be your downfall.
And spoiler alert, it might be. We actually only have 15 episodes left, so we're getting very close to the ending, y'all.
Oh my god, I'm kind of sad now.
I know. When Kim and I finished Ruby, we were very sad.
Yeah, I'm getting sad.
Really fast, I didn't put this in the announcements because, again, this is all over the place. We're sorry, y'all. This is the full moon energy manifesting through us. But I was also asked if we knew what our next telenovela was going to be. Yes, we do. We're planning recordings. So I have 2 telenovelas that we're going to be covering after this. The telenovela I'll be doing immediately after the Teresa series wraps up is going to be just a 1 episode. It's not going to be super in-depth on the plot. If you like that format better, let me know. And then the next telenovela we're going to be doing after that, we haven't recorded yet, but we're planning the recording sessions, is a newer telenovela. And TikTok, if you watched the live, you know what telenovela it is, but keep the secret. But if you have any suggestions on what telenovelas you want us to cover next, let me know through Instagram. That's probably like the easiest way to reach me. But yeah, just let me know. And if you want one and done episodes, just covering the telenovela in general, also let me know, because those are a lot easier to record, so I can probably do a lot more requests that way. But back to the plot. All right, before we get into the main plot for these next episodes, which, y'all, there's so much that happens, and this is going to be a content warning because there's going to be some very triggering stuff we're going to be talking about surrounding abusive relationships, sexual assault, and toxic relationships. Yeah, so if this isn't the best episode for you to listen to, don't worry. Hopefully the relationship gets a little better next episode. But yeah, just take care of yourselves. Before we get into the main plot though, I'm going to honor my Hong Kong listener, and we're going to talk about Aurora. And Naranza, I'm going to let you take a little bit of the reins here because it is your favorite character.
Is she?
Is she not?
I mean, I love Aurora, but sometimes it's like, I wish, and like now we're starting to see Aurora stand up for herself, like after she started realizing that Teresa wasn't her bestie after all. And like this whole time, she's always been so honest and upfront about her feelings to everyone. And she doesn't deserve Teresa as a friend. Or did I say that right?
Teresa doesn't deserve her.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
But yeah, like, okay, I don't even know what we haven't even talked about Aurora. Okay,
I'm gonna set the foundation then. I'm sorry, y'all. I know I've been neglecting our side characters, but Aurora is gonna become a much more important character moving forward. We didn't talk about it. I think we brushed over it, but I want to go back to when her mom came back into her life. Mm-hmm. So Aurora's mom comes back into her life after years of having abandoned her. I think Aurora even thought she was dead, but her mom comes back, and it's not with the best intentions.
No, and Aurora lets her in just like that.
Literally, it's one conversation, and at first Aurora is very angry. She's like, you left me, da da da. But then by the end of that conversation, she's like ready to love her mom and be a daughter to her.
Mm-hmm. I think one good word to describe Aurora would be, and I say this in the most loving way, she's a pushover. It's sad to see, but then that's what I'm talking about is like during these last few episodes, we really see her step into her shoes and like become the strong person that she is. Strong woman that she is. But yeah, after the whole mom situation, like she learned to let go. She got that closure. And then after that, I feel like she was still left vulnerable, but she has, you know, Juana, she has her, like she has a good support system.
So to recap on Aurora's story, Aurora's mom comes back into her life, horrible person. She literally just wants money and she wants a check and she'll be out of her life. Aurora finds this out and is incredibly heartbroken, but that's when she gets closer to Juana, who at this point is dating Aurora's dad, and Juana, who, as you remember, never had any kids of her own that lived, and so she has this abundance of motherly energy and love to give out. So she takes Aurora in and she loves her as her own daughter, much to Teresa's dislike because Teresa gets jealous. But then Martin, Aurora's old boyfriend who had left a bunch of episodes before, comes back and they start dating again. And Aurora's very honest with him and is like, I'm in love with Mariano, but I want to try this out because I can't. Mariano's never going to see me as anything other than Teresa's best friend.
Yeah. And at the same time, Mariano's dating Aida.
Oh, yeah.
And he's also honest with Aida and tells her, like, hey, I'm also still not completely over Teresa, but yeah, we can try. The Teresa effect.
The Teresa effect. So they start dating and it gets very serious and it's actually really lovely. I love Martin and I think he's a swell guy. Essentially, they get engaged and they're gonna get married. And we even see Aurora ask Juana to make her wedding dress, which is a stark contrast to the whole Teresa situation where Teresa made her make her dress only to reject it. So Juana's just being amazing and supportive and Aurora loves to get close to her. She's planning a wedding. But then all of a sudden, Mariano starts to realize that, oh shit, he might actually love Aurora. So then he starts to pursue her. And there's this moment in the hospital where they kiss and Martin sees them and he stays listening. And he hears Aurora say, basically, like, we can't do this because I'm going to marry Martin. Like Aurora is so good at being honest with her feelings and just laying it out. Yes, she can be a pushover, but she's also really good at just being like, this is my situation and we can't do this because X, Y, and Z, which is a total opposite of Teresa, who manipulates everything. So then after that happens, Martin asks Aurora out to a fancy dinner at this really nice restaurant, and Aurora is determined that she's going to tell Martin the kiss that happened between her and Mariano. Again, great human being. But Martin stops her and is like, no, you have to listen to me. And he basically says, I love you too much, so I'm going to set you free. And he breaks off the engagement. And Aurora is upset. She's like crying beautifully. And she's like, I was going to tell you, like, this thing happened between me and Mariano, but I am determined to make things work. And he's like, I know. I heard everything. And I know that you're such a beautiful soul that you would dedicate the rest of your life to trying to love me. And that's not fair to you. Mm-hmm. And then he makes a really funny joke. Like, I love his little jokes where he's like, well, if this was a romantic comedy, you would chase me through the airport or you would do this. And here he's just like, well, you know, you are letting go a very charming guy, a very funny guy, a very humble guy.
Yeah.
He's being a good sport about it. He lets Aurora go and he breaks off the engagement.
I know, which is a little painful because he lets her go because he loves her that much that it's like, you deserve to be happy, and unfortunately that's not with me, but I understand and I wish you the best. And that's it. Oh.
Which, again, that's definitely
so wholesome.
It's so wholesome, and it's not Mariano. If you think about it, Mariano has been holding on to Teresa for years. And I feel like in telenovelas, they always go.
But has he been holding on? It's like she's been feeding him.
Aranza.
No, Teresa has literally been giving him like the whole thing before the wedding.
Aranza,
we're going to get into.
I agree. However, at some point, you have to take responsibility for your actions. And he is just as complicit as Teresa is.
What's Teresa's sign?
I remember we said Sagittarius.
Is she?
I don't know. We don't know. I don't think we're going to find out in the telenovela. But it's Mariano's fault, too. It takes two people to carry out a relationship this long, and he definitely has been holding on to her.
Okay, moving on next.
Okay, Aranza's agreeing that she's wrong. All right, so that's it for Aurora for now. We're going to come back to Aurora later in this episode, but first, let's start with Oriana.
Ooh, Oriana. So, she overhears Cuthberto in the hospital telling Teresa that he knows about the whole thing that went down right before the wedding, that Mariano and Teresa were planning on escaping and they had done the dirty. And then Oriana takes it a step further because she got it like that, because she has money and hates Teresa so much and has the time, that she hires Cuthberto as like her driver / personal assistant. And is just trying to do and hires him solely because she wants to get more information out of him. And it works. And she has all this ammunition towards Teresa. But just like Teresa, she's playing it smart, because during this time that she figured all this out and was like, when she received all this new information, she kind of like kept it in her books. And she wasn't going to use it until Teresa was fully recovered.
Yeah, so Oriana knew that if she let out the information right now,
it wouldn't look good.
It wasn't going to go well. Teresa was literally dying. She had taken 2 bullets for Arturo. No one was going to...
Learning how to walk again.
Yeah, like no one was going to hate her. Everyone was going to have sympathy for her. So Oriana, being the smarty pants she is, she kept this in her pocket for months. And then, as soon as Teresa has been recuperated and she's walking again and she's back to being la Hembra Mala, Oriana suelta la sopa. And she tells Arturo, Teresa slept with Mariano the day before your wedding and she was planning on leaving. And Arturo is like, no. Teresa would never do that to me, blah, blah, blah. But then he starts to think back to the days when he caught Teresa with a maleta. Like she was packing up all her stuff to go for one night to Aurora's house. So everything starts to line up. And even though he's trying to deny it, he knows that it's true. And everything just falls apart for Teresa.
During those episodes, everything is going so fast and everything is revolving around that story, because obviously Arturo finds out this information and like starts second guessing himself, and he has to like confirm information. So the first thing that he does is go look for Mariano and ask him to be straight up. During this time, who knows? Aida knows. Aida tells Mariano. Aida tells Aurora. And so like everyone in the hospital is like trying to figure out where Arturo is. And so it's just like intense,
because at this point everyone knows except Teresa. And so Teresa goes home, and Arturo, we mentioned this in the past, but Arturo has had a drinking problem, and when he drinks he can get violent. And we get one of the most toxic scenes.
Second toxic,
I said one because up until this point, one of the most toxic scenes, where he's confronting Teresa, he's yelling at her, he's shaking her. And she's denying everything, and she's crying. And at one point, Arturo's like, you're out of this house. Leave my house.
Yeah, and this is after the fact that he did confront Mariano and Mariano's dad.
The Mariano's dad is important because Mariano's dad kicked Teresa out of the house.
The next morning.
Yeah, the next morning after she slept with Mariano. And he found one of her hair pieces. And he's like, I know what you're doing to my son. You need to leave him. And if I ever find you here again, I'm going to show this to your husband. And Teresa leaves, but Mariano's dad keeps the hairpiece.
And he kept his word.
And when Arturo shows up, hell-bent on confronting Mariano, the dad is trying to save his son. So he's like, no. Teresa went looking for him, and he pulls out the hairpiece and gives it to Arturo, who immediately recognizes it as a hairpiece that he bought for Teresa in Cancun. Literally almost all of Teresa's lies and puzzle pieces that she had set up so neatly in one motion just come crumbling down.
It did take a lot for it to crumble down, like the way it did, though. Like, it took many people.
Yeah.
Like, it took Cuthberto, Oriana, and Mariano's dad. And usually we've been talking about the way that Teresa goes about things. She plays everyone's like a puzzle piece. And everyone always seems to say the right thing and plays, like, exactly the game that she wants to play. But in this situation... And yeah, beginning with this, it's like it really does all start to crumble down.
Mm-hmm. And so Arturo and Teresa have a really big fight and confrontation. And Aurora is trying to call Teresa because everyone is worried about her. But Teresa isn't able to answer. Arturo at one point is ready to kick her out. And Teresa is literally fighting against the door. And if y'all want to see the video, it's on TikTok. But it's like sad. It's intense. And they're crying. As they're fighting, word gets to Mariano about what happened, that Arturo knows that they slept together. And what does Mariano do, Aranza?
He races to their house and demands to see Teresa. And during this time, Arturo tells Teresa to go calm down because her madrina had come over to make sure she's also okay. Again, remember, everyone was chasing them down. Teresa and her madrina are upstairs in their bedroom. Teresa's filling her in. And downstairs, Arturo answers the door outside, and it's Mariano. And Mariano's literally like, I'm here for Teresa. Like, I know that you know what happened, and I'm here to take her. Like she belongs to me. And when they were having this conversation, I was like, they're talking about Teresa like she is an object, like literally a trophy. And they're both fighting over it. And what does Arturo say?
So then Arturo is like, no. We work things out and she actually loves me and we're going to stay together. And when Mariano hears that, he's like, oh. Because in his head, he was like, Teresa is finally going to tell him. Like, this big secret is no longer looming over them. So Teresa's going to come clean and we're going to be together.
Yeah, and I think that's the turning point for Mariano, because this was the perfect opportunity for Mariano and Teresa to finally run off and be together, because it's like, yeah, their marriage is in crumbles. Mariano's super successful now, and Teresa again didn't think that he would be this successful so fast. But Arturo doesn't give Teresa the opportunity because he doesn't even tell Teresa that he came. So Mariano leaves all sad and mopey with his big puppy eyes. Those
okay,
delicious
Kim.
eyes.
But yeah, so Mariano leaves, and this story could have gone a completely different route had Teresa known.
You think she would have left with him?
I think so.
Me too.
Yeah.
After that whole fight that they had, literally Arturo dragging her down the stairs saying, I'm going to take you back to your parents' house.
I have no idea why she stayed.
Me either. That's what I'm saying. She's always given herself her place. She knows her value. And that's why I'm like, why is she putting up with this bullshit?
Why?
Because she knows that she has to be close to Arturo to be close to Fernando.
Yeah, Fernando is a bigger fish in the sea. And then Arturo decides, okay, you can stay.
Which is very toxic. And as a viewer, you're wondering, that was a really quick switch because Teresa had just asked to go get her stuff. And, that's when we see her putting all the stuff all the jewelry into her small Mariano teddy bear. And
remember this, it's going to be important in the finale.
And she said she was going to go get her stuff, her paperwork or whatever. And literally in that time frame, she comes back down, and that's when Arturo's like, oh no, I'm going to give you a second chance because you gave me a second chance because Paloma. When I was watching this, I was like, he had me fooled. But yeah, it's just so toxic.
And y'all, we're going to address this because when I posted this clip, there were people in the comments saying #goals, or this is where I get my toxic tendencies, or just being very supportive of this type of behavior. I'm no relationship expert, but in my personal opinion, if it's that toxic, it's not worth it, and y'all need to get out of there.
Yeah, I wonder where that stemmed from, because it was only recently where everyone started saying tóxico and tóxica.
Mm-hmm. It was a TikTok trend or something.
But I don't know if people are joking about it anymore, because it's I don't know why you would want to brag about that.
Yeah, it's very sad. And especially, well, telenovelas, if y'all remember Ruby, Sebastián Rulli has played this character before. Like the toxic character who becomes angry and blames women on all his problems and screams and gets violent. And it's just so normalized, and it's defended because the characters in this telenovela defend Arturo. They defend his behavior, and we as an audience, the way it's written and framed, we're supposed to sympathize and empathize with him because Teresa is the evil one. Teresa is the one that manipulates, and don't get me wrong, she does. She's also toxic and has toxic traits, but it's Arturo too, and you can't just blame one person on all your problems and be like, they're the reason I drink, they're the reason I get violent, they do this and that. Like, you have to also take some responsibility, and that's something that Arturo doesn't. And yeah, and it's so normalized in telenovelas. This is like the ugly part of telenovelas, where we see this behavior so much. We grew up with this. We saw this telenovela as kids, and I don't remember this.
And up until this point, I feel like Teresa has always given herself her place. Like, she has never let anyone disrespect her or talk down to her. Nonetheless, like, slap her. Actually, Aida, she would never defend herself. Maybe Teresa can't fight. Maybe that's it. Like,
she needs to take my boxing lessons.
Yeah. So I was actually really surprised that she would even put up with this because, like, and I think part of the reason is because she does love Arturo and doesn't want to lose him. Something that supports my claim is she also, when Teresa talks to herself, she reveals what her true intentions are. And that's when she says, I'm going to flirt my way through Fernando so we are able to recover our money very fast. So that was her original plan, was to just like, Fernando, we're poor, help.
This is a part where it's like so complicated because she had good intentions, but she's just going about it the completely wrong way. I feel like Fernando is such good friends with Arturo that she could have just asked and been like, hey, we need help. And he would have.
Yeah, and this is where like her ambition literally like blinds her because she is a woman with like very good assets. Like she has knowledge. She has the power to succeed on her own, just like how you said you would have loved to see where she would have ended up on, like, just on her own. And yeah, the ambition literally is just, it's tunnel vision for her, and it's like, I need to get out of this situation as fast as I can. And for her, it's just like, I need it all, and I need better right now.
She's not willing to wait, and we know this because she wasn't willing to wait for Mariano, who now is in a much better position than even Teresa and Arturo are.
Yeah, and let's talk about the irony in this whole situation. So, like we said, during that whole debacle that they had, Arturo was like downstairs sitting on the stairs, and he is just thinking to himself what he's going to do. And he reveals this when he's talking to Fernando the next day, where he tells Fernando that he's going to be testing Teresa to see if she really loves him or if it was just money the whole time.
He even says, I bought a wife.
Oh my God, that line. Okay. Let me complete the sentence.
Mm-hmm.
Yo compré una esposa y la voy a... I can't say
that's what I don't remember.
I'm gonna keep her until I want to. I'm gonna dispose of her whenever I want.
Oh my God. I just like, my mind just clocked in the yo compré una esposa.
I know. When Arturo said that, I was like, oh, man, like, yeah, this is why I don't like watching the endings to these things, because it's like, it just goes downhill.
Because this Arturo is a complete 180 to the Arturo we saw in the beginning. How fast that transition happened, my goodness. But but so his whole plan is he's gonna be testing Teresa, and no one knows it, like, to the world. He's gonna be like, no. Teresa didn't cheat. We worked everything out. It was a big misunderstanding, and we're gonna stay together. Again, just a reminder, they have lost their money, but they sold all their assets so they could repay the debt because they just didn't want to be in debt. Well, Arturo didn't want to be in debt.
Yeah. Teresa had actually written up like this whole thing about like, we can do it in payments. See, it won't be too bad. And Arturo, because he's testing Teresa, he's like, no. Like, I'm going to pay it because I don't want to owe anything. So I'm going to pay it all at once and be left with very little.
And here's the thing. The very little they have is not Vecindad poor. Like, they could still rent a small, nice house in a nice neighborhood, an apartment. But Arturo goes to La Vecindad, and he meets a woman who's crying because she's getting evicted.
Sees the opportunity, takes the opportunity, and then takes Teresa to live in the Vecindad.
Yo, Teresa is back at La Vecindad.
A 360, if you will.
And she is so pissed. But then she's like, she knows that he's testing her. So he's like, you want to test me? I got you. Mm-hmm. And these scenes are so toxic, but they're also very funny because we see scenes of them living together in La Vecindad. Teresa has the apron her mom wears and she's cleaning. And at one point, she turns the hot water off as Arturo is showering so he'll get cold water. And he's like, ay, pues no agarraste el gas. Y like, da, da, da. So she's making everything even harder for Arturo because she's being like, I know you're not going to survive here either. This whole Vecindad Teresa word gets around, and there's a moment where
Aida and Oriana come over to visit and
laugh.
Yeah, literally, like they literally came over and were like, we're just here to visit you, and like laugh in your failure.
And then Teresa's like, let me get a picture.
Oh yeah.
So she takes a picture, and then Oriana and Aida pose for the picture. It's so bad.
Yeah.
And Teresa's like, I told you this once, Aida. Like, I'm not going to deny you. This hurt me. But I know how to wait, and I know how to pay you back. So Teresa, again, has not lost that drive for power. And all the while they're at the Vecindad, Teresa is also stepping up her game with Fernando because the plan is to live in Fernando's apartment. So Teresa is upping her seduction game with Fernando. And y'all, it's literally weeks before Fernando and Luisa's wedding. And there's this scene where Teresa, remember, Luisa is supposed to be Teresa's best friend. And Teresa literally monologues to herself and is like, if Arturo accepts Fernando's help, then Luisa will be the bride. But if he doesn't, then I'll be the bride. She's literally planning the downfall. Like, Luisa has done nothing but support Teresa, love Teresa, stand up for Teresa against her own brother. She's been perfect.
And I feel like now the level fields of toxicness are pretty even because now both Arturo and Teresa have cheated on each other and are both being very abusive. Like, do you remember the line where Arturo picks Teresa up because he still he's mad at her, but he still has like the sexual,
he's still attracted to her.
He's still attracted to her, like, and it's so awkward to see that because like, yeah, he's really mad and you can see that, but he's still like kissing her and like, you know, and he tells her, sorry, this is my whole point, I almost lost it. He tells her, you're the most adorable little liar. Girl,
it's so bad. But remember, Arturo's mentality at this point is he bought himself a wife.
Mm-hmm. He's literally treating her
like an object.
And seeing if she passed these tests. And like, I feel like he's expecting her not to pass. Because every single time that she proves him wrong because she knows she's being tested, he's like, me sorprendes.
But they're still at the Vecindad. But Teresa, again, the whole reason she's seducing Fernando is because she's trying to live in his apartment. There's a point though. And this is where we're going to go back to Aurora. After the whole breakup between Martín and Aurora, Aurora decides to spend some time in Cuernavaca. This is where Mariano has realized that he loves Aurora, so he's on a quest to win her back, and he goes looking for her in Cuernavaca. And then, so Teresa's madrina is worried about Aurora, so Teresa finds out that Aurora is in Cuernavaca, but it's not until she finds out that Mariano went looking for her that she's like, I have to go to Cuernavaca too. Makes her way to Cuernavaca, is literally there for like 5 minutes just to make sure that Aurora and Mariano won't talk, and to be like, no, Aurora, you can't be with him. And Mariano, you still love me. I can see it. But like, Mariano, at this point, he's really into Aurora, and he's realizing how deep that love goes. And then Teresa's like trying to hitch a ride back to Mexico with him.
Oh my God. This is where we see like Teresa literally, oh my God, she plays everything so well because on the way back, she pays her taxi driver to say that they got a flat tire and she calls Mariano to come to the rescue. So she has an alibi. of like, you know, if she thinks that through, like, oh, if I were to get caught with this, then I could just say like, yeah, I got a flat tire.
But the whole important thing here is that when they drive back to Mexico, Mariano drops her off outside of the vecindad. He's not trying to go in because he's like, if Arturo sees us, everything's gonna
explode,
and he doesn't want that, and he's also not interested in Teresa. And then so then Teresa's like, fine. So she gets out of the car, and Arturo's watching, and he sees them, and he loses it. And this is another content warning. Probably want to skip ahead to like at least 3 minutes. He gets violent. He tries to rape her.
And before this, he had laid out a whole thing on the bed of like a new beginning, basically, with like a new dress that he bought Teresa, the keys to Fernando's apartment. Like he was gonna take her out because at that point I feel like he felt like he didn't have to do that to her anymore.
Teresa had passed the test at this point, and he was ready to tell her, you know what, we can move out of the vecindad. But then he sees this and he spirals and he gets really violent, and he's like, I'm gonna show you that you belong to me. And that's when he grabs her, throws her on the bed, is kissing her without her consent.
Exactly. Like, he's angry, but he mixes it with, like, those sexual...
He's turned on.
Yeah, like it's ugly. That's why it's so toxic. Like, they didn't have to mix those two feelings together because that's what makes it so toxic. It's like, it's never... Consent. Always.
And even if you're married... you still need consent.
Yeah, like, same with what happened to Dulce under the TikTok video comments. Similar to me when I was watching, this is episode 125 for the trigger warning. The same thing happened to me because I was watching this on YouTube and I was like, I always looked at, like, on the comments, the comment section. Everyone was also saying like, oh, se lo merece, like, oh my God. Like, one comment was like, oh, Teresa, like, is acting like she got raped. And they were like, yeah, haha, like she's married. Like, they were using that excuse, like, she's married, it's not like she's 12 years old. They literally said that. I'm like, girl,
it's bad. But Teresa's able to escape, and she grabs a cab and she makes her way to the old house where Fernando and Luisa are now living. And Fernando's there, and she goes in without him noticing and sees him, goes back outside, rips up her shirt, pulls out the tears, and is like, Fernando, like, this happened, and she's disheveled and everything, and Fernando is appalled that Arturo would do this to her. Again, this is where I don't like the writing, because she was legitimately a victim of, like, almost a sexual assault.
And she brushes it off for the sake of her...
to play the part of a victim of sexual assault, which she already is. And it's like, no... Like you said, Teresa has always given herself her place, knows her value, knows her worth. It's just out of character. And yeah, she's a manipuladora, but at this point, she was a legitimate victim.
Maybe it's part of the whole victim processing, because a lot of victims don't realize that it happened until, like, way later. Yeah, in this case, it's just sad to see, because she, like, everything is falling out of the control of her hands. And up until this point, she's always had control. And it's not like that. She's not used to it. But even with Fernando, okay, let's get into Fernando. Because I feel like Teresa was already planning to be alone with Fernando because she's the one that set that up. Like, she sent Luisa and Oriana to Cuernavaca. So yeah, everyone's in Cuernavaca again.
For the plot.
And of course he's alone, and she takes advantage of that. So I tried to keep track of how many times they kiss. I lost count. Like, they kiss so many times. And the whole time that they're kissing, there's some moments where Teresa will kind of face away, and she's kind of like making a disgusted face, or like a, oh my God, he's so easy. Like, because he is. Like, he's literally, we know that he's always been a mujeriego. And that's also his weakness.
Seduction game is full on now.
Oh, yeah.
And Arturo there's a bunch of scenes of him drunk, wandering the vecindad. Literally again, a complete 180 to the Arturo we saw in the beginning of this telenovela. Like, now he's a borracho, like, being drunk in public, yelling out for Teresa. It's bad. But Teresa decides to stay with him and forgive him and da-da-da-da-da. So they move to Fernando's apartment. and then they get back to work to winning back their fortune. Arturo is like, this is not going to be fast. Like, it's going to take a while. As we mentioned, Luisa and Oriana are in Cuernavaca. And while in Cuernavaca, Luisa's getting some spa treatment, some me time, when we see a character walk down the stairs and answer the phone. And Luisa's like, Lucia? Did you go to the British school? And then they do this thing where it's like, amigas por siempre.
And then they scream.
Apparently they're best friends. We've never met them. Teresa has always been considered Luisa's best friend. And Luisa has been in the process of getting married for like weeks now and hasn't even contacted this best friend. But for the plot, they're best friends and Luisa's super happy to see her. This woman, Lucia, apparently is a very successful linguist.
Yeah, linguist.
And artist and just a bunch of stuff from a well-off family. And immediately Luisa's like, you have to be my madrina for my wedding. And so they go back to Mexico. And all of a sudden, too, for the plot, she has the perfect capabilities to work with Arturo because he's been working with this German client. And she has the artistic capabilities to design beautiful stuff, but also translate stuff for him. So she starts working with Arturo, and immediately Teresa is threatened, and she hates her.
She's jealous for sure, but she doesn't want to admit it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's even that moment where Arturo notices that she's jealous, and he even tells her, like, oh, for a second I thought you were jealous, and it kind of turned me on.
Oh, toxic
and
behavior.
I'm like, girl, see, this is what I'm saying.
But they start working together, and then there's a moment where Luisa asks her for a big favor, and we don't see what the favor is. But then we get a scene where she's sitting in the office, and she's drawing a portrait of Arturo. And Teresa walks downstairs, and she's like, what are you doing? What are you holding? Can I see that? And she's like, no, Teresa, you can't see this, And then Teresa, like, takes the paper away from her, sees it as a portrait, flips out, kicks her out, screaming. It's so violent. It's so catty. Teresa at her cattiest, lowest, I don't know, like, girl. And she kicks her out and is like, Arturo's cheating on me. And so she goes running to Fernando and is like, Arturo's cheating on me. Like, we can't deny it. I get jealous every time I see you with Luisa. And basically lays down the seduction game even more. And at this point, anytime that Teresa and Fernando are together, they just make out.
Yeah.
Which is why you lost track of how many times they were making out. But it's full on, and it's making Fernando tense, and it's making him nervous that Oriana notices it, and she tells Arturo just to keep a lookout for him. Meanwhile, Luisa clears things up and tells Teresa, the portrait, I asked a favor of her because I wanted her to make portraits of you and Arturo and give them to you guys so that you can be reminded of how much you love each other. Things are cleared up. Arturo makes Teresa apologize.
But that's not to say that there wasn't something going on, because there was, okay? Like, from the beginning, what's the first thing that she said to Arturo? It was like, oh, you don't remember me on our last night adventure? Like, making it seem like they slept together. And then she reveals that she was only 8 years old the last time they saw each other.
I died. I was
That's
like,
not okay.
No. Like, she's the age of Luisa.
Exactly. Well, I mean, Teresa's really young too. But it's just the way that she brought that up was like very like
again, this is where I'm going, like sexualizing an 8-year-old.
Exactly.
No reason to do that. Just make her consenting age.
My jaw dropped when she said that. I was like, because yeah, for a second I thought like they had a thing together as consensual adults, but no. That's not what happened. But yeah, like even when they were working together on this very complicated linguist translating script or whatever, they were very close and they were like very like they were very flirty.
It reminded me of Teresa's seduction game when she first started working with Arturo. Literally getting close together, being smart and impressing him with her work. That's literally all the stuff Lucia was doing. Oh my
god, that turns him on.
Literally, that's his game. That's what I'm saying. I don't even know if I like Arturo.
Not anymore?
No.
Last episode we were talking about like he always was like, giving Teresa her place and like very like he knew her love languages, and that's like out the door now.
Yeah, I don't like Arturo.
That's why we have to look up to the side characters like Aurora, who's always been super awesome the entire time.
And going back to Aurora, so all of a sudden all these characters end up in Zacatecas, which is Cudberto's homeland. Mariano has to go there for work, where Aurora immediately follows, and we didn't mention it, but while in Cuernavaca, before Mariano left, he leaves her flowers, and then he comes back dressed as a little campesino.
Oh my god, that scene was so funny! He literally has a little accent too, like, how may I help you, my services? But like in Spanish.
So he dresses up as like a farm worker and knocks the door and is like, I'm here asking for a job. So because Aurora is really nice, she's like, well, we're not offering jobs, so let him in, like, I'll talk to him. And then he like lifts up his face and he's like, sí, señorita, es que necesito trabajo. And it's just, he's dressed apart and he's basically being like, my skills are making the people I love most not like me. And he's talking about Aurora and just, it's cute. And then he keeps sending her love letters.
He's showering her with gifts.
And it works.
I mean, how could it not?
La Conquista. And so by the time that for the plot, everyone happens to be in Zacatecas, Aurora and Mariano are now a couple. But Teresa doesn't know this yet.
Yeah, and I feel like at this point, all the genuinely nice characters are having a great time.
And so they all end up in Zacatecas, except for Arturo and Lucia and Luisa. They stay back in Mexico. They have work to do, whatever. But Cudberto, again, it's Cudberto's homeland, so he's there. And Mariano's there for work with Aurora, and they're in love. And then Juana, Teresa's madrina, breaks off her engagement with Hector, Aurora's dad, because she realizes that the love of her life is Cudberto. So then she goes to Zacatecas chasing him, shows up, and is like, I'm here so you can make me your wife. And they plan their wedding, and she does what Teresa could never do, which is put her heart first above money and interest.
And even when her madrina confessed that to Teresa was so bitter about it because, yeah, Teresa could never do that. And I feel like she's selfish of the people who are able to do that. Like, even at one point when she was talking to Esperanza, she was like, oh my God, like, it was so easy for you. Like, you didn't have to work as hard as me to get, like, you know, this really nice place with that other doctor. And it's because, like, yeah, like, she also followed her heart.
So then they get engaged and they're going to get married. So then Teresa goes to Zacatecas. And while she goes, guess who comes chasing after her?
Fernando.
So he shows up, but not before Teresa sees Mariano. And then she goes and, you know, bats her eyelashes, only to have Aurora walk in and full on make out.
Oh my God.
With Mariano.
I'm so happy for them though. Like, come on. Like,
they're beautiful. Honestly, like, the camera work on Aurora has been so excellent. Like, they're really, like, showing how beautiful she is.
The glow.
Like, she just, like, the costuming too. Like, they're doing everything to now make her an equal or even above Teresa.
Yeah.
And Ana Brenda Contreras, the actress who plays her, is beautiful. But they definitely were downplaying her because Teresa was the it girl. Mm-hmm. But now it's like, no. The tables have been flipped. And Aurora is just as beautiful as Teresa. And we see it in the camera work and we see it in the costuming and how she's written. And I'm falling in love with her. I'm like, oh, it's a little mirada, her little dimples.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, like everyone everyone from the Vecindad loves Aurora. They call her Aurorita. And it's like, I've never heard anyone say Teresita. Because like Teresita sounds even cuter.
She would kill them. So yeah, Teresa finds out that Mariano is now with Aurora and it breaks her. And so she's walking down the streets of Zacatecas alone when she gets a call from Fernando. And she's like, I had to leave Mexico because I can't get you out of my mind and I can't stop thinking about you and I need to forget you. And he's like, I'm here. And Teresa's like,
She's like, oh my God, this is so easy. Like,
So then we get a scene of them together again making out because that's literally all they do.
Well, I feel like Fernando wants to...
Oh, no, yeah. To do the devil's thing.
Yes, he wants to fuck for sure.
I'm trying to avoid the F word and you were just...
I'm sorry. He wants... Yeah, sorry. But Teresa knows her place in this instance. Yeah.
For the plot.
And she knows that she can't give it to him right away.
And so she's not. And then we get an ultimatum. Teresa turns to Fernando and is like, you break off your engagement with Luisa and I'll get the divorce from Arturo.
Yeah, because before this, Fernando was telling her to divorce Arturo so he can have an adventure with her and like...
But Teresa doesn't want an adventure.
Teresa literally says like, I don't want you to treat me like any other like girl, you know? So she knows what she has to do.
And she's gonna go for it. And that is where we're gonna end for this episode. Alright, as we mentioned, we're almost to the end of Teresa. Next episode is gonna be our last right before the finale. So again, if you all have any characters we haven't talked about enough that you want to hear more about, let us know. And thank you so much for listening. Aranza, thank you so much for joining. If this episode is a little bit later... it's because I stayed up all night editing. So if you appreciate all the work I do, make sure you leave us a review, leave us a comment, let us know what you're enjoying about the podcast.
And if you want to support us even more, we have stickers.
We have stickers for sale on my Etsy. Go check them out. The link will be right in the show notes. So go support. Thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you again next week.
Ciao.